Hi everyone, I'm Faith and I will be doing my discussion on the energy systems for Pilates. First off, a little introduction into energy. Um, Energy is needed to produce movement and maintain body temperature and to keep up with metabolic activities like energy production, blood circulation, and muscle contractions. So, our bodies have three energy systems that can produce ATP energy. They are ATP PCR, the glycolytic system, and then the oxidative system. ATP PCR and the glycolytic system are anaerobic systems. So, what that means is that oxygen is not required to produce ATP, but the oxidative system is aerobic because oxygen is needed for ATP production. But now that we have better understanding of the energy systems, we can now talk about how it specifically relates to Pilates. So, for those of you who don't know, Pilates is a low to moderate intensity exercise that focuses on controlled movement. It can typically last between 30 minutes to an hour. It also, the intensity of the exercise can vary based on the class that you take. If it is a class such as beginner, intermediate, and then advanced classes. And also, one of the other differences is like the reformer classes versus like just mat Pilates. Those can also change the intensity for the exercise. But yeah, it mostly uses the oxidative energy system, which, as I mentioned just before, it's aerobic. So it provides energy for the steady, controlled movements that you do over the whole session by using oxygen. At the beginning of Pilates, the ATP system can help start the initial movements, but then the oxidative system will take over and it pretty much does most of the work throughout the middle of the exercise. The glycolytic system may help during challenging sequences like longer holds or pulses. But by the end of Pilates, the oxidative system is maintained pretty much throughout the entire exercise, the primary system. So two factors that can influence energy production during Pilates are oxygen availability and substrate availability. Like I mentioned before, Pilates mainly uses the oxidative energy system. So if your breathing is controlled and steady, then enough oxygen is being available for your muscles and ATP production will stay efficient. If your breathing is shallow or poorly coordinated, or you're holding your breath, whatever, then less oxygen is delivered. And so ATP production slows. And your muscles will feel tired faster. So if you guys have ever taken a Pilates class or know anything about Pilates, that's why they really emphasize breathing techniques during the exercises, especially like exhaling during difficult parts or focusing really on that exhale during difficult parts, or inhaling during certain movements and exhaling during certain movements. But the oxidative system uses glucose and fats to produce that ATP. And so as the session progresses, glucose levels can drop, especially if the session is longer or is one of the higher intensity Pilates workouts. So when fuel availability decreases, then ATP production also becomes slower. So basically what that means is just less fuel, less ATP means reduced muscle endurance and control. So it's important to, basically what this says is that it's important to have a proper nutritious meal or snack prior to your Pilates, specifically focusing on those fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. And those will really help fuel your body and allow you to have energy throughout the entire workout. But Pilates improves the body's ability to make ATP, especially through the oxidative energy system. But these improvements happen over time, with some changes occurring earlier, but most of the adaptations that happen are with repetitive training, so continuing to do this Pilates exercises frequently. But the early adaptations can kind of consist of better neuromuscular efficiency, which means that your nervous system is activating the correct muscles faster, which will minimize wasted energy for smoother and faster movements, which will lead to you having like improved power, balance, and then also reducing your risk for injury. Improved breathing control, since that's a primary focus. It's another, important piece, and other adaptations that you have. Your body gets better at delivering oxygen to those working muscles. You're also increasing your ability to tolerate low-level fatigue through the exercise. So all of these like earlier changes can help reduce fatigue, but there's no like major structural changes in muscles yet. But long-term adaptations would be increased mitochondrial density in muscle cells, which basically means that your muscles can produce more ATP using oxygen to allow your muscles to sustain activity for a longer period of time. And then increased oxidative enzymes or enzyme activity. So like the faster and more efficient ATP production, which means improving it will like basically overall improve your endurance. Another adaptation is improved capillarization. So better oxygen and nutrient delivery, which not just improves your endurance, but also your recovery process. And then we also have like improvement in local muscular endurance and fatigue resistance. Obviously, whenever you do repetitive exercise, you're building up your muscles' tolerance to those, so you get those muscular changes. But these adaptations ultimately improve your performance by improving endurance, control, and then reducing fatigue. But I do think it's important to know the energy system specifically with exercise. I think if you have fitness goals and one of your fitness goals is to improve endurance, balance, or control, then Pilates is going to help you target those goals specifically. But I feel like you can use the knowledge of energy systems to help with like knowing what will fuel yourself. In the sense of dietary, we know, okay, I need to, prior to my exercise of Pilates, I know I need to focus on getting a snack or a meal with carbs, protein, and fat to help my body fuel itself before the session, and then also to help aid in that recovery. But I also think it's important to know the energy systems so that you can allow for a better understanding of why you get these specific instructions during your exercise. So in relation to the Pilates, why you're doing these breathing techniques, why is there an emphasis on the controlled breathing? Because, if you're not breathing properly, then less oxygen is being delivered and ATP production slows. So you'll feel tired and your recovery will be more difficult. So I do think knowing energy systems will be very helpful for people trying to reach fitness goals or just a general knowledge of how to fuel your body.